bought the AYN Thor in January. I was in Tokyo studying abroad, and I just so happened to have some extra money towards the end of my trip. The Thor finally arrived in late February. I think I had a much better experience than most when it came to the shipping of that. I got it through DHL right before they ended the DHL shipments for the Thors, and to my knowledge, many people weren't as lucky. I ended up buying the base model, which is the 8GB of RAM, the 128GB of storage. In retrospect, I probably should have gone with more just because of the storage, not even the RAM. That problem was only mitigated because I just so happened to have a 1TB SD card laying around, and with as much as I'm doing with this thing, it was very much needed. Anyways, it's now around mid-March now, and I've had the Thor for about a month. In that month, I think I've come to the conclusion that this absolutely is a 3DS killer. I grew up with the 3DS. I had the base model, the blue version, and I poured probably thousands of hours into that thing. It was honestly abused to no end. I got it when I was super little. I have a very vivid memory as a kid where I was being babysat by my cousin, not being really supervised. I was playing Bakugan Battle Brawlers for the DS, a very stylus-heavy game, and I lost my stylus. So being the bright young child that I was, I went to my basement and found a drill bit to use as my stylus. If you couldn't tell, I was being sarcastic about the bright child thing. That DS just like, it was integral to my childhood. By the end of its lifespan, obviously, as you could tell, the screen was scratched, the charge port didn't work. I had to use the like wireless pad that would like, you would set your DS in it and it would charge it somehow. I also had zero idea about the internet connectivity stuff. Like when the GameStop employee told me that there was a thing called the eShop, I was like blown away. I love the 3DS, but obviously it's hard to ignore how difficult this system is to get at this point in time. The system, even on release, was outdated hardware. And now, over a decade later, I mean, it hasn't gotten any better. And that dated hardware is getting more and more expensive on like eBay and whatever else. I'd be personally willing to bet that if this device wasn't created, we would be maybe a decade out from Nintendo actually thinking about a way to play these DS games on like a virtual console equivalent for these systems in a faithful way. I'm talking like a screen attachment or something. Sure, there's other dual screen handhelds available, right? But in my opinion, this is by far the most accurate spiritual successor to the whole DS line. I'm sure if you're watching this, you've probably watched numerous videos on the Thor at this point. You've probably heard that over and over again. But it is true. If you grew up around the same time as me, playing games on this thing is just crazy. There is very much something for you on this console no matter what. Obviously, this is through emulation, but DS and 3DS, obviously. With upscaled graphics and HD texture packs, it's borderline remastering some of these games in a native form factor. Switch, GameCube, and Wii are all very good. The Thor absolutely nails them. Granted, the Switch isn't as far along software-wise as the GameCube and Wii are with Dolphin Emulator and all that, but new drivers come out like every month improving it, so it's on its way, and it still does run most Switch games at like 60 FPS very well. PlayStation 2, even Vita somehow are also pretty decent. Vita iffy, but the other two systems are very good. I was playing God of War upscaled to like, I think 1080p, runs at 60 FPS. It's the best way, in my opinion, to get through that game. Yes, I own these games, don't crucify me, or they're right there somewhere. But something I want to show off is like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. This is the Switch version being emulated here. Because this is running through Eden, I'm easily able to throw a mod pack on top of it to double the course selection, adding things like Green Hills and like Splatoon courses, which are like phenomenal. Pokemon BDSP? No, this is Luminescent Platinum, a fan recreation of Pokemon Platinum that is just incredible. It's a refined version of those games in almost every way. Pokemon Blaze Black 2, this is a ROM hack of Pokemon Black 2. I'm running it upscaled at 2x speed with a DSi texture pack to make it look more accurate to the DSi. And I'm shiny hunting Trico right now, for example, right? I'm able to run this at a sped up version. I have a reset button here to where I can just reset it and do like a reset every 10 seconds or so to shiny hunt. It's awesome. Huge Pokemon guy, if you couldn't tell. The point is, this thing is a beast when it comes to running essentially any system you can think of, to the point where I would argue it improves upon those games more than the OG consoles for a couple things. Some of the things it's still rough. Also, I don't want to gush about it too much, but these OLED screens are like magnificent. I wish I could accurately show off how colorful and bright and vibrant these screens are. I'm gonna try my best with the camera equipment that I have, but I am limited, but it's beautiful. I should be fair here though. Out of the box, this thing is not nearly as pretty as it looks right now. This thing takes a ton of setup. Full transparency, it really got on my nerves for the first couple days, maybe a week into the setup of this thing. However, Isu, this is a Thor front end and it's magical. maybe not even Thor, it's for Android universally. Seeing the concept trailer for this front end is actually what sold me on the Thor. Even though it's not finished yet, it's still an alpha. This thing is pretty damn sweet. This will probably be something I make a video on down the line. It's not perfect, but it is getting there. So subscribe for when that hits the timeline. Downsides here, I really love AYN. I've Odin Light, I loved it. I'm loving the Thor 2, obviously, but it's really hard to ignore some of the stuff going on here. Shipping has been a huge issue for a ton of people because this is a smaller company-ish. Making these devices happen to be a lot slower than a lot of people would hope. I got mine in the first month and a half, and arguably that's on the quicker end of the timeline. And when there's storefronts on like AliExpress and stuff like that, see items haven't shipped after a month, a lot of orders are getting canceled. I would recommend ordering directly from the website. Also, like I mentioned earlier, I was lucky enough for my DHL shipment that got to my house safe and everything like that, but many Thors got stopped at customs from what I saw and got sent back to AYN. I know eventually they got their Thor, but I mean, that's a huge headache to deal with. Price increases, from what I can tell, isn't because of greed or anything like that. AYN just is in a circumstantial situation where RAM prices are skyrocketing because of AI. So a ton of major tech companies are actually getting screwed over by that universally. However, that is having to reflex back on the customer. For the last 2 batches, there's been price increases. Overheating is something I've had issues with, particularly on PC games. It'll reach into the 80 Celsius range, which obviously isn't good. I've seen people on Reddit blame the internal thermal paste that AYN uses on the CPU. A lot of people have actually fixed that by just getting a better brand of thermal paste. I haven't done that yet, but I can see myself doing that in the future. It's just not a prevalent enough problem with the games that I'm playing that I have noticed it too much. A lot of people complain about the grip and feel like the console is just not that comfortable. I haven't noticed that. That's kind of subjective in my opinion. Might be just because I've played the DS so much. You know, I have DS here, and DS here. Like, this is something that I play all the time and I'm used to the form factor. So it's not something that I'm super bothered by. All that being said, I mean it when I say this, get this device. Even with the price increases, in my opinion, it's still absolutely in the range for it being worth it. If you can find it on Marketplace or something like that for even cheaper, perfect. I don't know if you could do that. There's been scalpers kind of scalping these up too, which, you know, that's not good. As someone with a Switch 2, wild take here, but I would put it over that even. That goes for the 3DS as well, just because even though it's slightly more expensive than the 3DS, it's so much more volatile with what it can run. And especially with those 3DS games, it literally improves upon those games on similar screen sizes, but upscaled to where it's so much prettier. Not to mention the OLED again. If you have any questions about the Thor, please let me know down below. I'll be happy to answer them best of my ability. I would love to hear your thoughts and maybe if this video turned you one way or the other on buying this thing. Anyways, I'm out.